この思い出と友情に満ちた惑星に来るのも久しぶりだ。消え失せるがよい。私は赤き月のレインフォルス。
Hello everyone. So in this video I'm going to talk about how to build the King of the Red Moon. So he's basically reinforced but uses in over attack. His fashions are Dark Fashion, Origin, and Mythical. Level 70 max stats comparison. So the first class is Otherworldly Avenger. This one is an infantry class. The infantry class has less attack, but you don't use attack on him anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then the rest of the stats are almost the same, except it has a little bit higher defense when it comes to the infantry class. Now when we look at the other class here, Blood Crystal Dominator here is in Holy class. So Holy class, again, everything is pretty much the same except a little bit more attack and a little bit less defense and a little bit more magic defense. So the difference is that, of course, they equip different gears, and the Blood Crystal Dominator, which is the Holy class, can fly like Bozo. You know, like Bozo, like Rachel, etc. Now his talent here, Crimsonian Sange. AoE damage plus 5, 8, 11, 15% at 6 stars. Honestly, this is not really high. When it comes to AoE damage, I think 15% even at 6 stars, that's pretty low. After dealing AoE damage for each enemy hit, heals 5, 8, 11, 15%. So same as the damage. So I think this is the balance point here, because he heals after attacking. So you can't really, I guess you can't really give him like so much damage and then you can heal afterwards. And then HP and deal fixed damage to those targets and any targets within one block for in of 0.2, 3, 0.4, 0.5 at 6 stars damage. So to sum it up, he deals AoE damage. His talent gives you extra AoE damage, and then after dealing AoE damage, the more enemy you hit, the more you heal. And then on top of that, after AoE damage, you also deal fixed damage. Bonding requirement. The first 3 bond, as usual, very straightforward, nothing tricky. And the fourth one here, the toughness one here, you need Branda, and then the fifth one, you need Shilinka. As a mage, he's pretty tanky in my opinion, so you definitely do want that fourth bond, and then the fifth bond, of course. That's basically his main selling point, attack. Okay, now let's go over the skills here. First we have Strengthen. So as an active use target, unit gains attack in plus 20% as well as immunity to attack in down and affects that silent active skills last 2 turns. So very cool. He can self buff. He doesn't have to rely on a faction buffer. Siphon here attacks a single enemy dealing 1.5 times damage after battle. Restore HP equal to 30% of damage dealt plus his talent, so he will restore a lot of HP. Detect. I think this is a skill that you probably will never bring in a, well, maybe in PvE, but PvP not really. Crit rate plus 10%. When dealing damage, 50% chance to disable enemies' passive skills. Last 2 turns, 100% chance to trigger when landing a critical hit. Black Hole. Magic damage attacks multiple enemies within range, dealing 0.36 times AoE damage. Deals 2 random debuff. Decay. Magic damage attacks multiple enemies within range, dealing 0.3 times AoE damage. Inflicts cannot be buffed last 2 turns. Retribution. Magic damage deals 0.3 times AoE damage to all enemies within 2 blocks and dispels 2 buff. I gotta say, Retribution, the range is pretty poor because it's self of 2 range, so this is not really good even in PvE. Okay, now we have his exclusive skills. Blood Crystal's Blessing, cost 1, passive, prevent fatal damage once, restoring 20% HP. After this effect takes place, when actively dealing damage to enemies, gain 1 stack of Blood Crystal's Force. Damage taken minus 2% can stack up to 5 times. When you have 5 stacks of Blood Crystal's Force, then after ending action, lose all stacks of Blood Crystal's Force and regain a chance to prevent fatal damage. Cannot be dispelled or immunized against. Okay, so it does sound pretty broken. 1 cost and you can die multiple times, like as many as you can, as long as you have 5 stacks. However, it sounds like it's, you know, easy to get the stacks, but it's not. It's really hard to get the stacks. No matter how many enemies you hit or you attack, you only get 1 stack per attack. So you need at least minimum 5 attacks And Apex only has 12 turns, so most likely you can die, no more than twice, unless you have, Florentia, you have Liana to help you do act again. Allows you to act twice in one turn. Starfall. Magic damage. Summons 4 meteors to attack within an area, each dealing 0.3 times AoE damage. One enemy can only be hit a max of twice this way, with the second hit dealing minus 50% damage. For every enemy hit by this skill, cooldown -1 on this skill. The damage is really good, and then some characters can be, some situations you can hit the same target maximum of 2 times. The cooldown is 5 turns, so if you had hit 5 enemies, you can use it right away the next turn. Sounds very spammable, and with this talent, don't forget that you also deals fixed damage after the attack. Awakening skill, Dark Side of the Moon, cost 3, cooldown 5, range 4, span 3. There's 2 parts to this. So first part is the passive part. When attacked and taking damage, gain Moon Shadow. So what is Moon Shadow? AoE damage taken minus 25%. When ending action, dispel 3 debuffs from self. Last 1 turn. When under Moon Shadow stats, cannot be targeted by enemies' normal attacks or be chosen as the target for enemy skills. So kind of like Tsubame. So you can only get hit by AoE that doesn't directly target at you. Gaining Moon Shadow this way has a 3-turn cooldown. Second part, magic damage. Teleports self to a chosen square and deals 0.35 times AoE damage to enemies within 3 blocks. Steals 1 buff from each target and deals 1 debuff to each target. Gain Dark Side of the Moon. Enemy unit within 2 blocks receive 50% less healing last 1 turn. So first I'll talk about the range. This rainforest has 3 movement. Teleports yourself, that's range 4, that's 7 movement, plus the span, that's total 10 range. So the worst case scenario, you still can hit 1 target within 10 range. This is basically a same version of, like a stronger version of Eclipse from the regular rainforest, except this deals intelligent damage, magic damage I meant. And then this gives you the debuff that enemy units within 2 blocks receive 50% less healing. Otherworldly Avenger is the infantry class, so first I'm going to talk about how to build his infantry class. Okay, infantry class is not really recommended, mainly because he's very restricted with his gears. Especially there aren't a lot of weapons that can give in. Therefore, the only 2 I'm recommending here is Give Up Eternal Life, which I think is really good on him. Because he has self-healing talent, I think this adds up to his healing skills. However, he mainly is a DPS in my opinion. If you want to use him as a healer with Gift of Eternal Life, I think Olandis would do a better job. Or if you want to hit a little bit harder, I think Queen Scepter is also a good choice. His infantry class is a little bit more tanky, so I would recommend Forbidden Armor in general. I think it's the best against melee or range attack. If not Giants Resistant, if you feel like you're very weak, your box is very weak against assassins. And then when it comes to Aeolus Battle Armor, I think that's probably the best when it comes to PvE, especially because it gives HP. Recommend a Helmet, Fury of Tyr if you want more skill damage. Vampire Mask is more catered to like PvE, and the Aeolus Helmet in general is just a very tanky helmet that gives a good HP and good defense. The accessory part, I'm going to do it at the end of the holy unit build, so I don't have to repeat myself 2 times. Okay, recommended weapon, a Miracle Staff. If you are AoE focused, debuff focused, then this is the best weapon for you. Red Moon and Blue Moon here is a little bit more balanced. Even if you use AoE or single target, I think your damage won't be too big of a difference. And then of course you heal a little bit more as well. And then it comes to preference if you want to use the Red Moon or Blue Moon, or depends which one you have more. Recommended armor, Tenyo is always one of the best for mages. It gives you, if you're dealing with like a lot of characters that melee attacks you, then I think Tenyo is the way to go. Death's Robe is more for against assassins, whoever requires crit to kill you, such as Ares AoE. And if you don't have any of the above, I think Galaxy Cloak is a good placeholder. Recommended helmet, Tenyo's headdress, I would say if you do tank push. But if you're really aggressive using rush, I think this only gives you the plus 10% HP, so not very useful. Glory of the World is also very good. HP is plus 10%, and it can prevent you from dying to fixed damage once. So you can, with his, let's say with his own C1, sorry, he revives 1 time, and then if you get killed by fixed damage, you revive 2 times. Soul Stealer Headdress. Do remember that his 3C gives him a spam of 3 range, and this is perfectly 3 range, which means you can have a chance to apply another debuff when you're in range. Recommend accessories. When it comes to AoE spam, Fedar's Rose is one of the best accessory in my opinion. Dispels 1 buff, so with his 3C you steal 1 buff, and with a 50% chance you can steal another buff. Well, not really a steal, but you can dispel 1 buff. Star Earring, if you're using Giant's Resistance or you're using Death Robe, I think Star Earring is really good. Now you're probably, if you have high enough defense, then you're probably assassin proof. Holy Ring, if you feel like you're always getting silenced unfortunately, then I think Holy Ring would be good. Do remember that his 3C does have Cleanse. Basically what I should say is Dispel, Self-Dispel. Enchant Choices. Honestly, I don't really recommend any, like not a lot of choices. First I want to recommend is Clock, spammable. Full Moon for maximum damage. I was gonna also do Magic, but I don't know if Magic is like the best option because he also does require a little bit more healing, and so I don't have him myself. I can't really test how big of a difference when it comes to self-healing. Now when it comes to enchant stats, I won't say too much. I'll just leave the screen on here. You guys probably want to pause it and take a look. Always in over HP, and then HP second, and the rest will be, you know, debatable. If you feel like you need more defense than defense, otherwise magic defense. Okay, last but not least, we have Soldier Choices. He can use so many good soldiers, so many good troops. First one we have is Highland Warrior. If you feel like you're going to do a lot of single target skill, I think Highland Warrior is really good, especially there's so many Lancer troops right now, so many Lancer tanks. Sell it. If you have faction buff, you sell it. If you don't have faction buff, then don't go with sell it. Next we have Holy Pegasus. Holy Pegasus in general is not like super good when it comes to AoE. The reason why I recommend is because if you build him as that holy unit, with Holy Pegasus you can fly. With the other units on ground, you cannot fly. Last but not least, Hopla here, because this Rainforest you probably would be going in alone most of the times, especially since you can die twice. And Hopla here can counter characters such as SP Elwyn, Leon, all the cavalry units. Okay everyone, that is it for this video. If you like what you're watching, if you find this helpful, please consider to like this video and subscribe to my channel. There's also a monthly membership in my YouTube channel that you can consider joining. Once you join, you will get a custom badge and emoticons that you can use when you comment in my videos. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next video. Bye bye.